And it's recording, yeah. Okay, super. So back to this. So yeah, as I was saying, want to make it abundantly clear that there are two spaces to go for your MSW Capstone ePortfolio. So the first is there is this Learn page, and the Learn page is useful as it has a number of resources for you as you're completing your MSW Capstone ePortfolio. You can see if I scroll down here, talks about some of the learning outcomes of the program and of the capstone itself. And in this content browser below are some of the links that will actually give you some step-by-step instructions for how to do a lot of the stuff that I will be talking about today. So in any case, as you go through actually creating this, I mean, one, all of this today will be recorded, so you can always go back to this, obviously. Two, you of course can email Alice, and Alice can email me, or we'll figure it out that way. But three, a lot of the instructions here under this using your ePortfolio page, and especially this Your MSW Capstone Project ePortfolio, that space there will walk you through really step by step. Okay, here's how you add content to the ePortfolio. Here is how you add, say, images, or here's how you edit some of the stuff already in the ePortfolio. Here's how you ensure that you can comment on each other's ePortfolios. I mean, the ePortfolio in its essence is meant to be this kind of collaborative online space where you can kind of think about how the stuff you're doing in your program, in your practical experience, relate together, how some of the theories and the competencies that you're developing all connect together, and you do it in a singular space so that you can not only keep track of your own development, but in fact also see some of your colleagues' development as well, learn from them. It's kind of the social learning idea where you can learn from one another and also be more intentional about your own learning. So that's why we're doing this ePortfolio tool. So again, lots of resources to help you get started in this MSW Capstone project course, but the ePortfolio itself is actually outside of the course. That's the way that this happens in Learn, so it's a little confusion we can understand. So you have this course that you can use as a resource, but at the very top of your Learn page then is this ePortfolio link here. So again, I think it's best usually to first go into your MSW Capstone project course, and from there click the ePortfolio link. You can, in theory, click the ePortfolio link when outside of your MSW project course, but to ensure that you're seeing the ePortfolios that you should be seeing of your colleagues, it's always best to kind of do this process first. So MSW Capstone project course, and then I'm going to click the ePortfolio link, and that will bring us directly into the ePortfolio space. So I'm going to do that now, and I want to walk through what exactly you see here and what is important for you here as well. So right now I'm in as a test student, so the kind of stuff that I'm seeing is the exact kind of stuff that you would see as well on your own. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so first you have the ePortfolio space there. Now this ePortfolio space is where you see kind of a running dialogue of everything that is going on in the ePortfolio Capstone course, kind of stuff that your colleagues are sharing and what you're sharing. So that is, because it's a running list of different things, it's not necessarily the best space to try to find what's relevant to you. So I often say, I mean, yes, it exists, but don't actually spend time there. There's other spots that are more useful for you. Particularly this My Items page. And the My Items page here is going to be your main working space. So when you log into there, you're going to see primarily this presentation that has in your name, has in brackets your name, then MSW Capstone. That is your Capstone ePortfolio. That is your Capstone presentation, and that's what you're going to be using for documenting all of your learning. That's the most important thing to you under the My Items page, and a lot of the work that you're going to be doing there is underneath that My Items page and in that presentation space right there. Now at the top there are two other tabs as well. The Sharing Groups tab is one that you can also just flat out ignore. There's nothing there that you need to pay attention to. But this Explore tab there is important as well. This is where you will be able to see all of your colleagues' ePortfolios to look at, to see what kind of stuff that they are doing. And you're going to see a list of, well, every single one of your colleagues' ePortfolios. If you want to find a particular one or need to find a particular one, there's this Search Explore page at the top here, and that's where you can simply search by someone's name, and that will pop up the ePortfolio that is associated with them. because otherwise, yeah, you're going to see a relatively large list of all these different ePortfolios. What's important to you is simply, yeah, maybe a particular student's ePortfolio, and you can search for it that way. But a lot of the work that you'll be doing does reside in this My Items page. And if I go back to there, again, you're going to be working primarily by going into the ePortfolio here and doing a lot of work there. So, for example, to access stuff in the ePortfolio space, you're going to always be clicking this little drop-down arrow beside the presentation, and from there, clicking on the Edit button, and that will boot you into the editing space for the ePortfolio presentation. And the first time you do this, there are a couple things that you want to do to get yourself set up for success. The first is, yeah, in brackets it says your name. So this is where you would just kind of delete that and just say, actually put your name in there. So you want to do that to start. And then under this banner page as well, you're going to do the same thing. Again, there's brackets there. You're just simply removing that and putting your name in there. All we're doing there is some of the initial setup of the ePortfolio, so that when I save this, and whenever you want to look at what you're doing, you can click this View Presentation button at the top here. When I click on that, then it's going to show, okay, well, there's my name up there, and in the title of it as well at the top, there's my name as well. Oh, that's not showing up. Let me just try to share that little screen. Hold on one second. New share. There it is. So it should be this one there. I opened up a sample of the presentation. So that's kind of, this is in this very basic format before you've done any editing into it, except now my name is up there instead. So when I edit the name on that page before, that allows me then to just make sure that it's customized for me, basically. So the other kind of customization you can do initially, there's this themes button there as well. And under the themes is where you can then choose a different theme for your ePortfolio. Again, I mean, ePortfolio spaces are meant to be a reflection of you as a learner, so you have options to customize it. I mean, the default one with that cat on the top might speak to you, but there are different ones you can choose as well. And you just would choose one and select it and say, yeah, I want to set this as a theme. And that will, again, modify it and make your ePortfolio have a new theme there in place. So, I mean, when you initially get into the ePortfolio, do those three things first. Change the Properties tab, put your name in there, go to the Banner tab, change your name there. And if you want to, change the theme as well to make it something that speaks to you. So you want to start by doing all of that. And afterwards then, the main way you interact with the ePortfolio is through this content and layout page at the top here. When you go to that, you're going to see basically a scaffolded list of all the pages of the ePortfolio. And again, let me just pull up what it looks like in practice, and I'll just share this again. So the ePortfolio looks like this. So again, you have your name at the top, and the left-hand side of the page has all the different links for the kinds of things you'll be working on. So you have the first page that's about the information about what the capstone is all about. There's an About Me page where you can customize it to indeed talk about yourself. There are 3 capstone progress update pages for you to document what's going on in your capstone project. At the end of the entire program, you'll be uploading your final capstone project to this link here so that you can share with one another. There's just some random stuff in mine right now. And then at the end, or as I guess throughout, you have all these competencies that you're going to be asked to reflect on throughout your program. Each competency has a question prompt associated with it. They're kind of difficult to see with this theme that I chose. So again, you know, watch out for that as you choose your themes. But as you go through the program, when you want to start to address these competencies, you'll be able to choose the competency you want to address, and based upon the question prompt, formulate a response and potentially add additional artifacts. And artifacts are things like images, videos, other kind of pieces of evidence about you as a learner and how you are meeting the competencies in your program. So this is kind of like what the project or the ePortfolio will look like at the end, but you know, right now it's kind of a bare bones that will be added to as you go along. So I'm just going to go back and share my initial page again. So when it comes time to actually do stuff in the MSW ePortfolio, there are 2 ways to go about doing things. The first is, for example, if you wanted to, let's say, start to address your first competency. Left-hand side of the page here lists all the competencies in your program. So let's say I want to address competency 1. When I click on that, the right-hand side of the page here opens that up, and it gives me 2 options here, 2 things that are part of that page right now, because the right-hand side of the screen here is what's in the page. The left-hand side of the screen is just all the pages that exist in your ePortfolio. So on the right-hand side of the page, I'm seeing 2 items here. One is called this text set, and one is a comments field. Whenever you see this comments field, you can simply leave it alone. That's simply in place here so that when other people view your Capstone ePortfolio, they can comment on the ePortfolio. You yourself don't have to touch that. It's there to facilitate commenting. But what you are going to interact with is this first text set. And the way you do that is simply by clicking this drop-down arrow and editing that. Because right now it's basically a placeholder. When I edit that, it's going to bring up the question prompt. And I'm seeing here's core competency 1. It describes what the core competency is, and then the question prompt is here. So what we would encourage you to do is, well, you can view the question prompt, think about how you would address that, write how you address that, say in a Word document, Google Docs, doesn't matter where you write that. When you're happy with it, then you simply go into here, edit the competency, and then you can simply copy and paste it right in there. I mean, if you want to, you can write the competency and your response directly in here as well, right? I can just type away. But otherwise, I can just copy and paste. Alice?
Does this have an editing function?
In what sense? Editing?
Like if you're copying it, or if you're not copying and pasting, but you're writing in here directly, can you edit your words? Can you check spelling?
Yeah. So kind of basic editing functions like spell check, like basic formatting, all that kind of stuff does exist in here as well. So you certainly can use this as your formulation writing space, or just as a space to pop stuff into. That's up to you. I find it easier to kind of take my time, write the stuff, and then afterwards put it in afterwards. But that approach is up to you at the end of the day. So you would simply kind of put something in there, and when you're happy with it then, and when you save and close it, it now becomes updated in your ePortfolio. And as soon as I save and close something, it is automatically updated and visible to other people. One of the major things about this ePortfolio project is that all of your Capstone ePortfolios are by default shared with everyone else in your cohort. Again, that's for the social learning phenomenon, and so that your instructors as well can see the kind of stuff that you're working on as you work on things. And it can be useful indeed to see what some of your other colleagues are doing to meet some of these competencies and seeing how they are addressing these things as well. So that's the one approach to actually respond to the question prompts, and it's the same for each of these competencies. Each have the exact same format. As I click on them, there's a text set that I can then edit, and a comment-in field that I would not touch. And as I edit that question set, I can see here again there's a question prompt, and just as I did before, type in your response or copy and paste your response directly into there. So that's kind of like your main way of interacting with the ePortfolio and adding stuff to it. Now, you might want to do something beyond just adding text at times, right? You might have an artifact of something that you did in your program, something that you did in your professional experience that you want to add into here to demonstrate, well, here's what I did to meet this competency. And this is where you then add what we call artifacts. So to do that, I'm going to get out of this presentation editing mode and go back to my ePortfolio at the top here. And I'm going to go back to my items page. And what I'm going to do is actually add some